Hi everyone, today we'll be talking about Gita chapter 1, Shlok 3. Pashetam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamam Vyudham Drupadaputrena Tavashishena Dhimata. The transliteration of this shlok is, Take note of this strong Pandav army. Your disciple Drishtadum, the son of Drupad, has organized a military formation for this battle. Note, here Sanjay is repeating what Duryodhan says to Dronacharya on the battlefield. Explanation. There were 3 reasons why Duryodhan had originally come to his guru Dronacharya. The first reason was fear, and this was discussed in the previous shlok. Also, Duryodhan knew that Dronacharya would know both the strengths and the flaws of his disciples. He wants Dronacharya to side with him, so he is trying to find ways for Dronacharya to carefully flow over to his side. He had also known that Dronacharya would never fight fairly with the Pandavas, so he brought Drupad's son, Drishtadum, into his brain. As a technique to win, Duryodhan used what some may call cheating. He reminded Dronacharya about his quarrel with Drupad, Drishtadum's dad. He knew that Dronacharya wanted revenge on Drupad, so he tried to use his son's name as a median for this. Here, we think what Duryodhan did was morally wrong, but ethically it was correct. If you think about it, many people these days would have done the same. If we were in a situation like this, wouldn't we have done anything possible to win, even if it required a little bit of cheating or going against the rules? We would not be able to see our enemies winning in front of our eyes. We would definitely create a bias in the mind of the one we trust, so that he or she can help us win. He brought Drishtadum in front of Drona to make him go against the Pandavas. Really, it does not say that this was illegal. Maybe it was morally correct, but it was definitely a reasonable move. Do you think what Duryodhan did is correct or incorrect? Please answer this question in the comments below. The story between Drupad and Dronacharya. Many years before the war, Dronacharya and Drupad were very good friends, ever since they met in Gurukul. Drupad was the only heir to his royal family, so he was automatically going to be the king of Panchal, while Dronacharya came from a Brahmin family. Dronacharya was very skilled in warfare and sports, while Drupad was not. So Drupad would ask Dronacharya to help him with tasks during their time in Gurukul. When their time in Gurukul came to an end, Drupad promised Dronacharya half of his kingdom in return for all his help. But Dronacharya kindly refused the offer. Drupad told him to come to him if he ever needed anything. Years after, the promise and friendship were forgotten, as Drupad's ego increased as he ruled the kingdom of Panchal. Dronacharya, on the other hand, suffered in poverty and struggled to support his wife, Kripi, and his son, Ashwatthama. One day, Ashwatthama was bullied by other kids because he could not afford to drink milk, and Dronacharya was deeply affected. He then remembered Drupad and traveled to his kingdom for help. He was denied entry at the palace because of his poor attire, but Drupad let him in, but denied ever being friends with such a poor person and gave him a couple of cows as mercy. Dronacharya was furious and promised to take revenge on Drupad at a good time in the future. Dronacharya decided to teach war skills to students and was soon appointed as the guru of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. At the end of the teaching, students are required to give a gift back to the teacher, known as a Guru Dakshina. Dronacharya asked Arjun to defeat Drupad in battle and bring him to Dronacharya. Arjun did so, and Dronacharya reminded him of his false promise. Drupad asked for forgiveness, and Dronacharya forgave him. However, Dronacharya took half of his kingdom as per promise, and Ashwatthama ruled the other half. Drupad, humiliated, formed a yajna that got him his son, Drishtadum, whose sole purpose was to kill Dronacharya, and Draupadi, who was married to the Pandavas. Drishtadum killed Dronacharya in the Mahabharata. Example of strengths and flaws in the game of badminton. Let's use an example of badminton for this. A good teacher always knows the strengths and weaknesses of his or her students. He knows how and who can win a game with a certain student. However, he also knows who is not capable of winning a game at times. Keeping this in mind, the guru or teacher has the advantage of choosing the way he would want to go with the situation. He can cause a student to feel bad about his weaknesses or encourage a student to feel proud of his strengths. Just like this, Dronacharya had the power to fight the Pandavas and use their weaknesses as his advantage. Or he could have allowed the Pandavas to win with their strengths. Conclusion. As the war begins, Dronacharya is facing an internal conflict, as he is hesitant to fight against his students. It seems that Duryodhan is attempting to redirect Dronacharya's focus towards Drupad's son. Here, Duryodhan's sole purpose was to kill Drishtadyumna, as a medium to kill the Pandavas, thereby distracting Dronacharya from fighting his students, especially Arjun, who is very dear to him. This war strategy can be argued as morally flawed, but in war there are no rules and you must be prepared to win at all costs. Duryodhan's plan for Dronacharya to avoid the soft spot he has for the Pandavas was a very crucial plan, as now Dronacharya was motivated to fight this war due to a motivation based on a checkered past. Do you think that this strategy was right? Let us know in the comments below. Next week we'll be discussing chapter 1, Shloka 4. Please ask any questions you may have about this content. We encourage everybody to ask at least one question so that we can all discuss from them and ultimately learn from them. Please check the description below for the link to the Google form to ask any questions.